I was waiting for a train at King's Cross Station in London when an American tourist next to me pointed at the big digital board and said, "Wow, they really make this look old-fashioned. Is this a Harry Potter-themed station or something?" I told him politely that King's Cross is the actual station where they filmed parts of the Harry Potter scenes, and before I could finish, he gasped like a kid on Christmas morning. "Oh my God, so this is where the real wizard train leaves?" He actually walked around looking for platform 9 3/4, muttering, "They must have hidden it for crowd control." I didn't have the heart to tell him it's just a wall with a fake trolley for photos. The man looked so hopeful, like he was about to board Hogwarts Express himself. In Paris, I overheard an American woman at a cafe arguing with the waiter because her croissant didn't look like the ones at Starbucks. She said, "It's too flaky. I think this one's gone bad." The waiter, visibly offended, tried explaining in broken English that croissants are supposed to be flaky, but she just rolled her eyes and said, "Well, maybe next time bake it properly, monsieur." The man looked like he was about to resign from humanity. I was trying so hard not to laugh that my coffee almost came out of my nose. When she finally bit into it, she gasped and said, "Oh wow, it actually tastes buttery. Maybe Starbucks needs to upgrade their recipe." Somewhere, a French pastry chef cried tears of both pain and pride. On a bus tour through Rome, an American couple sitting behind me kept arguing about why the Colosseum didn't have a roof. The husband said, "I bet it blew off in a storm," while the wife confidently replied, "No, honey, I read online it's like that for better acoustics." I was silently screaming. The guide was literally explaining that the roof never existed, but they were too busy taking selfies with duck lips to listen. Later, they asked the guide if the Colosseum still hosts sports events because they wanted to watch a live gladiator match. The guide smiled politely, but his eyes said, "Please let this bus crash into the Tiber." I was in Tokyo once when an American tourist asked a local why Japanese people don't speak Asian. The poor man blinked in confusion, and she continued, "You know, like Asian, that language." Her friend tried to whisper, "They speak Japanese," but she waved her off. No, I meant the general Asian language." The local man smiled awkwardly, bowed, and walked away, probably to recover from the brain damage. I stood there pretending to look at vending machines while trying not to die laughing. I swear she looked genuinely disappointed, like she expected subtitles to appear in the air when people talked. At the Great Wall of China, I overheard a group of Americans complaining loudly that the wall didn't have an elevator. One said, "This is such poor planning. How are older people supposed to get up there?" Another added, "They should have put escalators, or at least a shuttle service." I wanted to tell them it was built 2,000 years ago, not last summer by Disney Imagineers. When they finally reached the top, drenched in sweat, one woman said, "Honestly, they should just rebuild it with modern amenities. It'd be great for tourism." Yes, ma'am, I'm sure the ancient emperors would have loved your feedback. In Cairo, I met an American guy who asked our Egyptian guide, "So, like, where do you keep the mummies when they're not on display?" The guide looked puzzled and said, "You mean the preserved bodies from ancient times?" The tourist nodded eagerly. "Yeah, do you guys like rotate them, like in the back storage or something?" He said it as if the museum staff swap mummies like retail inventory. When the guide explained that some mummies are in permanent display cases for preservation, the American looked disappointed. "Man, I was hoping to see a new batch." The guide just sighed, probably reconsidering his entire career. In London again, I once heard an American tourist complain that British money looked fake. She said, "Why are there so many colors? It feels like Monopoly cash." Then she added, "You guys should really use American dollars. They're more professional looking." The cashier at the souvenir shop gave her a long, blank stare before replying, "Yes, I'll be sure to pass that message to the king." She didn't even realize she'd just insulted centuries of monetary history. She just giggled and said, "Cool, thanks," as if she'd just made an important suggestion to Parliament. At an outdoor cafe in Barcelona, an American man loudly asked the waiter if they could turn down the Spanish music because it was distracting. The waiter replied, "Sir, this is Spain." The man frowned, clearly not connecting the dots. "Yeah, but I just want something more, normal. Maybe Ed Sheeran?" Everyone around the table stared in silence as he sipped his sangria, oblivious to the cultural irony. The waiter eventually walked away, muttering something that probably wasn't complimentary. The man then turned to his wife and said, "They're so sensitive here. I nearly choked on my tapas." While hiking in Scotland, I overheard an American couple say, "I can't believe they still have castles here." Like, do people actually live in those? The husband nodded seriously and said, "Probably. I bet it's like Airbnb." The guide politely explained that most are heritage sites or ruins, but the woman gasped and said, "Wait, so nobody owns them? Then who pays the rent?" I had to walk away before I burst out laughing. I wanted to tell them, the last person who paid rent in a castle probably did so in goats or gold coins. Once in Venice, I heard an American tourist ask a gondolier, "So, how do you guys drain the canals for cleaning?" The gondolier froze mid-row. "Scusi?" The tourist repeated it, dead serious. When you guys need to scrub the bottom and all that, do you drain it like a pool?" The gondolier blinked, probably questioning every life choice that led him there. "Signore, we do not clean the canal. It is water." The man frowned. "That's disgusting! No wonder it smells!" His wife nodded in agreement, whispering, "They should hire someone to manage that." I swear the gondolier nearly dropped his oar and swam to shore to escape the stupidity. I was at a little cafe in Athens when an American tourist asked the barista if he could get a regular coffee. The barista looked confused and said, "You mean espresso? Cappuccino?" The American sighed impatiently and said, "No, like a normal coffee. Starbucks size, with milk, foam, caramel drizzle, and a pump of vanilla." The poor man blinked as if someone had just spoken Martian. "Sir, we only have coffee." The American leaned forward, whispering like he was doing the man a favor. "Listen, you should upgrade your menu if you want more tourists." The barista just nodded politely, but I could tell from his deadpan expression he was silently praying to Zeus to strike this man with a lightning bolt. In Amsterdam, an American woman asked a local guide, "So what time do you close the canals at night?" The guide chuckled, thinking she was joking, but she wasn't. She continued, do they have gates or something? Otherwise, people could, just fall in." The guide paused, clearly reevaluating her life choices, and said gently, "No, ma'am, the canals do not close." The woman looked genuinely worried and whispered, "That's unsafe. In America, that'd be a lawsuit waiting to happen." The guide just smiled and said, "Yes, that's why we drink responsibly." The woman gasped like she'd just heard blasphemy. Once in Rome, I overheard an American man looking at a statue of Julius Caesar and saying, "So that's the guy who betrayed Jesus, right?" His wife nodded confidently. "Yeah, Julius something, the Bible guy." I nearly dropped my gelato. A local man standing nearby whispered to his friend, "They have confused Caesar with Judas." And both of them shook their heads so slowly, I swear it looked like a scene from a tragic opera. The man later asked a guide if they could visit the tomb of Pontius Pilate. I bet it's like a huge tourist spot. I honestly didn't know whether to laugh or cry for the history teachers back home. I was in a little Irish pub when an American tourist asked the bartender if they had green beer all year round or just on St. Patrick's Day. The entire pub went silent, except for the sound of Guinness being poured. The bartender stared at her with the calm rage of a man who'd heard this 1,000 times. "We don't do that here," he said flatly. She looked shocked. "You don't celebrate with green beer?" He sighed. "We celebrate by drinking real beer." She giggled and said, "Oh, you guys take it seriously here." The whole pub burst into laughter. I've never seen an entire room collectively roast someone with just eye contact. In Cairo, an American couple stood by the pyramids arguing over where to get inside to see the pharaohs. The guide explained that some chambers are open to visitors, but not all. The woman frowned and said, "Well, can we talk to one of them? Like the main one?" The guide blinked. "You mean the pharaoh?" She nodded eagerly. "Yeah, the big guy, King Tut or whoever. I heard he's famous." The guide's face went completely blank. He said quietly, "Madam, King Tutankhamun has been dead for over 3,000 years." She gasped, clutching her chest. "Oh my God, I thought this was like one of those historical reenactments." I had to turn away before I collapsed from laughter. In Scotland, I overheard an American man ask a tour guide if the Loch Ness Monster is in season. The guide looked baffled. "In season?" The man nodded. "Yeah, like, do they bring it out during summer for tourists?" The guide just stared for a good 10 seconds before responding, "Sir, Nessie is not a zoo attraction." The man frowned, clearly disappointed. "So there's no guarantee we'll see it?" the guide said dryly. "Aye, same guarantee as seeing a unicorn." The man whispered to his wife, "Man, these people are terrible at marketing. I've never seen a Scot look so close to throwing someone into the loch just for balance." While in Berlin, I overheard an American couple ask a local where the Berlin Wall is kept now. The local replied kindly, "It's still here. Parts of it remain as memorials." The woman gasped. "Wait, it's not in a museum?" the man added. "So you guys didn't, like, rebuild it for tourists?" The local laughed awkwardly and said, "We don't rebuild symbols of division." The couple nodded slowly, like they just heard something profound, and then the man said, "Still, it'd be cool if you had, like, a replica wall for selfies." The local smiled tightly and said, "We do. It's called trauma." In Venice, I once heard an American man complain loudly that the roads are all water. He said it like it was a personal inconvenience. How do people drive here? It's so unorganized. A woman nearby kindly explained that the entire city is built on canals, but he interrupted her with, "Yeah, but that's not practical. Imagine getting groceries like this." She laughed and said, "They use boats." He frowned deeply. "That's ridiculous. In America, this would never work." The irony of him saying that while standing in a city that's lasted 1,500 years longer than most American towns almost broke me. In Sydney, I met an American tourist who genuinely believed kangaroos were kept in cages at night so they don't roam the streets. When a local told him kangaroos often wander freely in the countryside, his jaw dropped. "You mean they just let them hop around like stray dogs?" The Aussie laughed and said, "Mate, they live here. We're the guests." The American nodded slowly, then asked, "Do you guys ride them to school?" I swear the Aussie's face turned into a mix of amusement and pain. "Only on Tuesdays, mate." The tourist nodded seriously. "Cool, that's so wild." I still can't tell if he ever realized that was sarcasm. In Paris again, an American woman stared at the Eiffel Tower and said, "It's nice, but I thought it'd be taller." Her husband agreed. "Yeah, on Instagram it looks huge." Then she added, "Do they take it down in the winter?" I turned to see if she was joking. She wasn't. The guide nearby tried not to laugh as he said, "No, madam, it stays up all year." She frowned. "Isn't that dangerous in storms?" He replied politely, "It's made of iron, not an umbrella." She gasped, impressed, and said, "Wow, they really knew how to build back then." I swear the guide's soul left his body for a few seconds.